Hi, everybody, at today's Change Matters Virtual Summit. My name is Margit Takac, and our guest today is Jeff Caselden. He's known for his work in helping businesses grow while focusing on people and the environment. With experience at Amazon and now with his own company, Caselden Consulting, Jeff aims to make work more meaningful and sustainable. His mission is to change how we view business and leadership. He's worked with big companies and startups, using his insights to help them thrive. After leading Amazon Ireland, he's been coaching leaders and entrepreneurs. He's passionate about leadership, talent, and making work better for everyone. As we have had the chance to work already in the past, firsthand, I can tell you the insightful recommendations I've received over the years from Jeff. And it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for joining me, Jeff.
And it's my pleasure as well. I'm really happy to see you again.
Mhm. It was a few years ago that we first crossed paths at the Irish Management Institute's Leading with Strategic Intent program. And ever since, we've been working year on year with groups of C-suite executives to see how they can bring more foreign direct investment. There, you've been fundamental as one of the mentors who is helping these leadership teams to find their ways from training to actual reality all the way through. And as we interact in these programs, one thing stood out for me is that you speak my language already. It's just not just about the technicalities of any change and business plan, but also about the human side. You and I have talked about dealing with resistance and how it is common. Based
Yeah.
on your experience and insights, how can leaders tackle doubts and resistance from employees effectively during any changes?
Yeah. People by nature are probably a bit frightened and resistant to change. We're animals of habit, as it turns out. I think when it comes to trying to tackle the doubts that arise with change that you're driving within an organization, I think one of the first things that's absolutely essential is just clarity on why things are changing. Why are we going to do what we're going to do? What's the outcome that we're trying to seek? And what might be guiding the decision? What might be sort of the indicators to us that we're seeing the type of change that we want? Without that, I think in most organizations, you're starting with one hand tied behind your back and fighting a bit of an uphill battle, especially in the types of organizations that I tend to work in, which tend to be knowledge sort of industries. So you've got people that are very bright, they're very curious already, and they want to know, why is this happening? I think one of the other things that we can do as leaders to make the change easier is to be clear about what's going to change and what's actually going to remain the same. Sometimes when we bring change to the table, it just can be overwhelming to people. So being able to let them know that there's still a lot that's going to be the same can be key, just to turning the heat and the fear down just a little bit. I think where we can as well, it's important to be able to alleviate the inconvenience that might come with the change. And that can take a lot of different forms, obviously. But I think the final piece for me really is also creating space for dialogue around the change. Some of the biggest change initiatives that I drove in my career when I still worked with Amazon, um, ultimately came out better when I left the door open for other possibilities and other viewpoints to be aired. It's not uncommon as a leader to have a clear vision of where you're going to go, how you're going to get there, and what the steps are going to look like. But there's a lot that we can miss. We all see things from our own individual perspectives. We all have our own version of reality. And being able to bring in the good parts that other people can see and observe that maybe weren't in my field of vision, I think has been critical and instrumental to actually getting to where I wanted to in the end.
It's very interesting what you talk about, that fundamentally what leaders can do is bringing clarity. You talked about the why, what is changing, what is not changing. Recently, we talked about an initiative you were supporting. You work with large and small organizations, and one of your clients had to downsize significantly. From that experience, can you tell us a little bit about how you can alleviate inconvenience and explain the why to people when their jobs are at stake?
Yeah, I think this is one of the big challenges that leaders face today, is that the way that the world works in many ways is really controlled by economics to a large extent, and what's our objective in being in business. And by and large, I think most people still kind of operate from the Milton Friedman playbook of that business is here to, enrich the shareholders who invest in the business. My view would be that I think we kind of have to change that system. We have to operate from a different perspective, and not every organization is obviously going to be able to do that. So in some cases, it's going to be really difficult to alleviate a change of that nature. Um, I think if we can start, however, to look at business as an opportunity to improve the world in some way and to bring value to people, beyond just those who are the investors in the business. You've got stakeholders up and down the chain in terms of the people who are actually doing the work within the organization, the customers that you're serving, the environment that you operate as a part of. We've really got to be able to expand our perspectives, I think, to think in those terms, and see business maybe as not a land grab situation where first mover advantage is always what we're aiming for, and to get big fast, to use some old Amazon parlance. But that how can we build a business that's going to be sustainable over the long run, that's actually going to persevere, and that's going to have a sense of longevity behind it. That kind of requires us operating, I think, from a different place.
Very interesting points you're making here, which is the aim is success and longevity. And sometimes downsizing, like the story of one of your recent projects with a client, is really about letting people go, but it's also ultimately for success and longevity for the organization. So I guess we all go back again to the why we need to change if things are working well. Now, you work as an advisor, a mentor, an executive coach. What is your number one advice to change leaders today?
I really see organizations at a pivotal moment. I think with the rise of AI, the ubiquity of mobile computing. I mean, we operate in a world today where people no longer have a worldview that's this small. I mean, if we imagine we're speaking to someone from 100 years ago, I mean, we're probably going to sound like we're aliens from another planet with a lot of the language we use. We're at a time now where people's worldview is like this. They have more data and information at their hands than ever before. They probably know people from all around the globe. To try to force people into little boxes, I think, is part of why we see the problems that we do in many organizations. So I feel like we're reaching some sort of tipping point, maybe in terms of the evolution of what organizations look like. And I think along with that is going to come an evolution in what it takes to be a great leader. I think traditionally we view great leaders as people who are really decisive. They have great ideas. They're committed. There's probably a load of other adjectives that we could throw in there, but I think one of the things that probably doesn't fall in there enough is that they actually serve more as facilitators who bring together lots of different viewpoints, to make a richer tapestry of what reality looks like. And so I think it's going to look a lot more like moving away from trying to get people to converge on a singular view of what we think reality is, to one that actually thoughtfully, empathetically, and courageously brings in many, many other viewpoints to really have us operating from a completely different kind of reality than we do right now.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing your words of wisdom with us, your experience and insights to how to lead changes successfully. I wish you and your clients continued success, and I look forward to staying in touch through the Change Matters Virtual Summit and beyond. Thank you so much, Jeff.
My pleasure, Margit. Thanks again for the invitation today. It was great to see you.